Welcome to the Startup of the Year podcast, where each episode we showcase exciting new companies from around the world. This podcast is produced by Established, creators of the Startup of the Year program. Established is focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and communication strategies.
Hello, everybody. It's Frank Gruber. It's the Startup of the Year podcast. Welcome back. Today, we're talking to a special guest, Erica Duignan. She's an investor and has been investing in startups for several years, and super excited to be talking to her. So before we do, though, I want to share some of the things we've been up to here at Startup of the Year. We're looking forward to South by Southwest. It's coming up here in March. This will be my 10th, well, actually, it's my 12th year of attending, our 10th year of hosting a pitch event there. So we've got the Established House of Startups and Innovation. And what that means is we're going to have an outpost all day on March 14th at the venue, which is at 516 East 6th Street in Austin, Texas. And so we'll have startups and innovators and thought leaders all coming through. We'll have a number of different events throughout the day, a lot of private events, and then our big event at the end of the day, which will be our startup night, which we've been doing now for several years. And it's all powered by Established, and with the help of obviously Startup of the Year and Established Ventures. And what will be happening is we're going to have a couple dozen companies pitching throughout the day, and then at the evening we're going to have a pitch competition, the finals part of it, where we'll actually listen to the pitches, probably the top 5 or so, and then invest in or potentially invest in one of the companies. This year, since our 10th year, we decided Established Ventures is going to look at one of the companies and potentially invest up to $10,000 in one of the companies. So super exciting. There'll also be some additional prizes, exposure. You can come and sip some cocktails, have some good eats, and look at some great companies and talk about entrepreneurship in Texas. So pretty excited about this. We've been doing it for a long time. It started a long time ago as our first event, which was I can't say it here. It was Blackout Sunday. It used to be called Johnny Cash Blackout Sunday, but we dropped the Johnny Cash part for legal reasons. But it was Blackout Sunday, and we had 30 companies come and showcase, and it was a great event. That was 10 years ago, and that was when we were still doing Tech Cocktail. And here we are 10 years later with the Established House of Startups and Innovation, and continuing to do our Startup of the Year program, where we'll fast track one of these companies, one of the top companies, to our finals, which will be our summit in the fall. So lots of good stuff happening. Excited to be going down to Austin. It should be a lot of fun, and it's always a great opportunity to connect and reconnect with new people and reconnect with others you haven't seen, and saves you a plane flight, because you just go down to there and you don't have to chase them all around the country. So that'll be a lot of fun. Before we get started here, I wanted to make sure we thank our partners. We've got American Airlines. We fly down to Austin on American Airlines. So let's hear what American Airlines is doing with their Business Extra program. With American Airlines, you can give your company's travel budget a lift. American Airlines Business Extra is a rewards program for companies that can help get the most out of your travel budget. It's free to join with no minimum flight or spend commitments. The more you fly with American Airlines and their partners, the more Business Extra points you earn. Points can be redeemed for round-trip flights, cabin upgrades, Advantage Gold status, Admiral Club memberships or passes, and your employees can continue to earn Advantage miles, and your company earns Business Extra points at the same time. It's a win-win. Doesn't your business deserve something extra? Thank you, American Airlines. Thank you for the Business Extra program. It's a great program for business travelers, and we use it when we fly. We're going to kick it over to our interview. I sat down with Erica, talked about startups and investing and everything she's up to. This is an interview from our last time we got together, and super excited to be talking to her, the founder of 1000 Angels and Rain Ventures, and a longtime judge of the Startup of the Year competition. She's been our finals judge, I think, for, I want to say 6 years now in a row. And obviously very interested in what we're doing, and obviously excited to see her every time we can. So Erica, what have you been up to?
So I've been working in the startup ecosystem as an investor and an entrepreneur for over 13 years now. So I'm based in New York, so it's been wonderful to see the development of the New York City startup ecosystem from a financial and operating perspective. 4 years ago, I started a company called 1000 Angels, which I still run to this day, and that is a network of high net worth individuals, family offices, and seed funds that we source direct investment opportunities for.
Right.
So through that vehicle, I'm primarily investing in companies at the seed and Series A stage. I'm also a co-founder and partner in a fund called Rain Ventures, which invests in similar asset types. There, I have a wonderful partner based in Miami named Monique Eidlet, and we love to invest in companies that are in the technology space, but with more of a focus on fintech, entertainment techs. We've done some fashion tech investments, some peer-to-peer lending, some other sort of basically those two categories.
So let's talk about 1,000 Angels, and then we'll talk about Rain.
Sure.
So first off, 1,000. What's the so first, how does that process work? So like, if I'm a startup, I come to you and I say I'm looking for 1,000 angels.
That's really funny.
Right? And
So-
and what do you do? What happens?
Right,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, we've known each other for a long
Yeah.
time, and as you know, a big part of my job is cultivating relationships with founders so
Right.
that we can be there at the right time when they're ready to raise capital. So, usually I'm starting a conversation with a founder and I'm building a relationship with that founder far before we're actually getting to the point where they're going to be able to raise investment through 1,000 angels. So, a big part of my job is having those conversations, giving them feedback, monitoring traction, and helping the companies sort of understand a good capital strategy for the future. We've seen obviously with the disaster in the public markets how sort of poorly executed financing strategy can actually completely tank a business, and it can happen at the early stages as well as at the late stages.
Do you have anyone in mind specifically, or is that just a hypothetical?
We could just, I don't know, name all of these, SoftBank's entire portfolio,
Okay,
basically.
there you go.
So,
Okay.
anyways, point is, I really spend a lot of time, mentoring, advising, and getting to know people, and then we invest in them. But of course, if you're a founder who doesn't already know me, a first step is to submit an application through our website. It's a completely open application process for both 1,000 Angels and Rain Ventures. And then we'll find some time to start building a friendship.
That makes sense. And do you have any like geographic area that you look, or is it anywhere around the world, or what are you looking? Where are you looking?
Yeah, so I pretty much stick to the U.S., although there have been some discussions about expansion to certain other global markets. So
Like the
it's
Caymans or something like that? Or, no,
Well,
I'm kidding.
yeah, like Dubai has some interesting
Okay.
stuff going on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's something that could happen because
Right.
they do, have some needs.
Right.
But it's primarily been U.S., basically ex-Silicon Valley. I think I have maybe 2, max 3 portfolio companies that operate in the Bay Area, but we certainly don't go there searching for deals just because
Right.
there's,
A lot going on in New York.
there's a ton of capital out there.
Yeah.
And the biggest needs for investment and where we find value and proper deal structuring is, sort of East Coast, Midwest, even LA, even basically everywhere that's
Everywhere else.
not the bubble,
Right,
not the
right, right.
bubble of Silicon Valley.
Got it.
So
That makes sense. And then from Rain's perspective, that's a couple years old now. Is that right?
yeah, so my partner Monique and I have actually been investing together for 6 years.
Okay.
So our portfolio consists of, I think we have 10 companies in that portfolio that we have co-invested in together
Right.
over time. And we're sort of building up that fund and about to, sort of hit the market to add additional capital to that fund. So
Great.
that's a
That's
big
exciting.
priority for us. And,
Yep.
we think it's really important because, it's so meaningful for more women founders to actually be able to lead deals,
Yep.
more female investors. So,
Right.
having the ability to do that really creates tremendous impact in how we can help more founders be successful.
Right. That's definitely true. And so, as you look, I mean, do you focus on women-led companies, or do you think that you attract it because you're women investors,
So, yeah,
or neither?
it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think we definitely attract it.
Mhm.
I think that we don't really have a focus. So our commitment with Rain is that the portfolio is at least 50% female and minority led.
Great. That's awesome.
But, for us, I think that's just something that comes out of the portfolio very naturally. Like we don't have to go out of our way
Right.
to create that effect. But it's something that we've certainly assured our investors.
Right.
And we do see, loads and loads of female-founded companies, I think, because female founders do like the idea of, having some female investors involved in their company.
Makes sense. So you're going to raise a bigger round, it sounds like, for that, for Rain. Good luck with that. I'm sure it's going to go great.
If anybody wants to invest, hit me up.
There you go. And then so you kind of just have like an open kind of formula other than, you're kind of attract deals, right?
Yeah.
What other types of things are you doing out there to find the interesting companies, things like that?
Well, it's a people business, right? I mean, obviously participating in, the most important startup pitch competition in the world, Startup of the Year 2019.
Obviously.
Hashtag Sony
Well,
Summit.
let's rewind for a second. You're a finals judge.
Yes.
You've been a finals judge for our startup program for 5 years?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. So we've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, we've been having fun for a while.
Right. So you've seen a lot of companies come through.
Yeah.
A lot of female-led companies, a lot of minority-led companies, and we have a
Yeah.
similar focus as far as like what
Yeah.
we're looking for with the program. Just loved some of your takeaways as far as some of the people you talk to and meet through the program.
Yeah. Well, I think it's such a great program because the caliber of startups is really high. So I know that obviously the companies that I'm going to see in the finals today are probably going to just blow me away. So that's great.
Yeah, and this is going to
They'll probably have their rounds filled already by the time I follow up with them next week.
And this is going to date this podcast because this isn't live, obviously.
Right.
But we just got done deliberating for the last couple hours, and that's why I was a little bit late for this. And I apologize for that, but basically it was so hard. Like getting to 15 was difficult, and then getting to 5 was like throw a number out there. It was one of those, randomize.
These things are hard. So I have obviously this today, and then tomorrow I head to Miami.
Nice.
I'm on the advisory board of Village Capital's, sort of fintech accelerator, group where they had to also go through. We went through thousands of applications for that to get down to, I think it's like 15 companies. So, same really challenging thing.
Yep.
I'm going to be in Buffalo week after next at 43 North, where they award $5 million in prizes with the catch that you have to move to Buffalo. So.
Right. Home of the Buffalo Bills, too.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of, I think, really great people and organizations that are committed to cultivating and recognizing amazing startup talent.
Right. So it sounds like you're on the road.
Yeah.
This time of year especially. Yeah. So okay. So just one more thought. Like as you see companies, what's like the biggest thing you see that startups are doing? They're like, oh man, I wish I could just help these companies with this specific thing that they're not doing right. Like what's the kind of most common thing?
Well, my main thing that I help people with is obviously advising them on their pitch.
Yep.
Right. So, the most common error that you see is people very much focused on describing what their product is or who needs it rather than telling me about a business model. Like as an investor, really that's the number one thing that I care about is a business model, or at least I do. So I don't know about some other people, but I'm certainly very interested in, how are you creating economic value in the system and what's your ability to capture it, right? So we see a lot of startups not understanding that. The next thing is, really sort of understanding your capital strategy. Most people don't have any concept of, what their valuation should be, how much they should raise and when, what sort of metrics they need to hit in order to raise certain amounts. So I spend a lot of time advising founders on that, and it's completely understandable because it's not common knowledge type stuff.
That is important. The metric side especially, like there's certain things they need to get, like certain kinds of companies just need to get to, right?
Yeah.
To be able to even
like
be out
if you
there
want to
raising.
raise a seed, a Series A, you basically need at least $100,000 in monthly revenue, typical. And so, for people not to understand, it doesn't just happen by miracle, right?
What are some other ones like that? So that's a good one. That's a really good example. What are some other ones like that you see?
What are some other ones?
No, I mean that you share, like metrics-wise. I think metrics are really important and overlooked, like in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Or under downplayed in some ways. Yeah.
No, I absolutely do agree. I mean, I think that one of the things that people don't understand very well is kind of like the danger of setting a valuation that's too high.
Mm.
If you set an $8 million pre-money valuation, for your seed round,
Yep.
if you don't do your next your next round at least like 16 million, your investors aren't going to be that excited.
Right.
So you really kind of have to think about it, sort of as a progression.
Almost as a all fully laid out plan, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And getting there can be incredibly difficult.
Mm.
But I think right now the biggest problem that we have in our society, from the perspective of the venture capital ecosystem, is companies spending a lot of time celebrating fundraising and
Right.
super high valuations, and not celebrating like earning money. So I think that
Yeah.
we really need to shift away. Like, it's almost embarrassing. Like, back in the day, you wouldn't accompany every introduction to a startup with, raised X dollars at
Right.
this valuation, as
Yeah.
though like raising money is
The
somehow
accomplishment.
a
Yeah.
big accomplishment.
Right.
Anybody can spend money
Yeah.
and not create value. Really, we need to start focusing on actual value creation.
Mhm.
And, it's very worrisome for our economy because, people are starting to get fired. These things are, spiraling
hitting
out
the
of
fan.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people are losing jobs,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we've had a heavy venture subsidy. I mean,
Mhm.
even when I'm taking an Uber, I think, oh God, like, does this Uber really only cost $30, or is there, is this just a venture subsidized ride
Or
that
Lyft,
isn't
right? Either.
gonna,
Right.
or Lyft,
Yeah.
right? Is this a ride that
Mhm.
isn't gonna, be around next year for me? And,
Mhm.
are we, are prices not really fully imputed because of these investment subsidies that are allowing really large companies to continue, burning billions of dollars? I think the, WeWork example is like classic. Now that the grown-ups have taken over, it's like no more beer, slashing staff. All the sort of fun, cool things are about to go away. And, people didn't realize that they weren't really paying for what they were getting. So,
Right. Do you think that opens up room for opportunity for other companies, though, or startups that are like gonna come in there and maybe do it differently? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, there's always opportunity, and, the whole sort of thesis behind a lot of these vision fund backed startups was just throw a lot of money at the situation. And we've seen that that's a very dangerous and, irresponsible and lazy strategy, really, that is not long-term sustainable unless you can somehow trick the public markets into buying your crappy IPO, which they weren't able to do.
Right.
So I think that there is going to be an opportunity, but people will really need to be able to show positive cash flow, show profitability, build real businesses, and that's what we should be doing.
All right. Parting thought, like, what are you talking about real businesses? What are some of the real businesses you're excited about?
Oh God, you mean like in my portfolio?
Yeah, just anybody at the top of mind.
Okay.
Like, I mean, you've seen probably a lot of companies.
We have a company that we're in the middle of putting together an investment for that I really love, that I'm happy to shout out and tell people about because I think it's such a great product. For me, as an investor, you get pitched with so many things, and you have to look at so many different opportunities, and
Right.
some of them are exciting, but every once in a while, you find something and you're like, oh my God, that feels like magic, right? And when that happens, like, you're like, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
So we've been working with a company called OpenReel that does B2B video software.
Okay.
So I actually learned about the company because I was using it as a customer, and it's amazing. In fact, you guys should maybe use it for your videos. But it allows you to take video with a smartphone, but somehow the video comes out looking like it was like very professionally produced. Like,
Really?
I do not know how they do it.
So it's called
Crazy
Unreal.
Town. OpenReel.
OpenReel.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, and I asked Spencer, I'm like, how do you guys do it? And he's like, can't tell you, I'm a secret sauce.
Oh, yeah? That's
but
cool.
It's one of those that I think has tremendous potential. And, if you build technology that does something valuable, you're going to have a great business and you're going to make a lot of money, especially if you're selling that technology to businesses that need it.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
that one I really love. We've actually done a couple cannabis investments. That market, I think, is just, rising tide is really going to lift the boats because
Right.
it's the market as a whole is just growing at a hyper pace. So we see a lot of opportunity there. We're also, as you know, I do a lot of fintech investing.
Yep.
So, financial inclusion products, things that are helping to manage the student debt problem. Those are some areas that we're really interested in.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I'm just looking for like really amazing people, quality people, people I can trust, people that I'm going to have a long-term relationship with, that I know whether they fail or succeed, they're going to do right by their investors.
Yep.
And that have great businesses. So
There
if
you
you
go.
meet those criteria, I'd love to talk to you.
And they can find you at 1000
1000angels.com,
or
Erica at 1000angels.com.
Thank you so much, Erica, for joining us. Obviously, love catching up with you and hearing about what you're doing and everything you're doing to invest in women-led and minority-led companies and finding companies that are doing really cool things. So thanks for joining us, and thank you for continuing to support the Startup of the Year in our program by showing up. I mean, you literally are showing up everywhere we go. So thank you so much, Erica. Finally, before we end the program here, I wanted to thank Silicon Valley Bank. They've been a podcast supporter from the beginning here. Thank you, Silicon Valley Bank. And let's hear from a fellow member of our established team, Rich Malloy, on what Silicon Valley Bank brings to the table.
Absolutely. So today's episode of the Startup of the Year podcast is brought to you by Silicon Valley Bank. And the team at Established, we've been building startup communities for 13 years. And Silicon Valley Bank consistently shows up, adds value, supports startups, and supports their clients. They're more than just bankers. They're mentors, they're advisors, they're super connectors. And we love having the SVB team at our events because they bring a depth of knowledge about startup markets that just doesn't exist from most service providers. And they always treat their founders with respect. And so if you're not banking with Silicon Valley, if you're using, say, a traditional retail bank like the one on the corner, there's nothing wrong with those banks. But if you're using that, a traditional retail bank, and you plan to raise venture capital, you need to bank with SVB. Your retail banker might not even know what the heck venture capital is, but SVB team does this day in and day out. This is their specialty. They've been through the fundraising process with thousands of startups, and they have additional resources to see you through the process and help you succeed. We love SVB, and we're grateful that they're supporting the Startup of the Year podcast. And so visit svb.com/next to learn more. That's svb.com/next. So Silicon Valley Bank, ideas bank here.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Silicon Valley Bank. We're at the end of our episode, sadly, but hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back soon with another episode and hope to see you down in Austin. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks so much. This is Frank Gruber, signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Startup of the Year podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon.